I want to come to the Freedom for Access to Information bill, which I believe Priscilla Nyokabi will be proposing today. Yeah. And I wanted to have a read and a good look at what it really proposes. But I think, David Ohito, you have a lot of information on that. And maybe you can, first of all, update us on what it's all about and how it is likely to impact our coverage and information that we give to the public.
Thank you. A very pertinent question and really what I call a defining moment for the media this week. One, because Article 35 of the Constitution, it talks about access to information, that every citizen has a right to access information held by the state. They have a right to access information held by another person, and that they can seek by way of writing or asking that the government gives, say, data or information on where Eurobond money has gone, for example, and they get detailed. That has a lot of impact on how our journalism will work. Today, there are still lots of what we call government secrets, information which you cannot access, yet it is held by state, allegedly on behalf of public or for reasons of public interest. When this law is enacted, and by the way, it's overdue because it's one of the laws which should have been passed by August this year. And I think the Ministry of Information has really failed. They should have published that bill. Priscilla Nyokabi has moved in to publish the bill as a private member's motion. Kenya has been struggling to have this legislation in place, and I remember in the 90s, I think Anyang' Nyong'o tried to publish the bill, but it didn't go through. So we have really been waiting to have this law published. It will really impact the way media works. It will impact the way members of the public access information. It may define how we make public participate in, say, budgetary processes by saying we want to know why this money has been allocated to a governor's office, to an MP's office, to State House, and so on. So for us, really a defining moment. But more important, remember, tomorrow we resume the full hearing of the cases which challenged Kenya Information and Communication Amendment Act 2013 and the Media Council Act, which tried to gag the media from accessing information. So for me, from where I sit as a media activist and as a journalist, I really see this as a defining moment. And we also expect the Powers and Privileges Bill to be voted for today.
And that's today?
Yeah, okay. When the offensive clauses to the media are finally expunged.
All right, Gadara, your take on freedom for access to info and how that would improve our journalists' ability to give information. One of the things that you've always said consistently is that we never follow up the story. We never give the full picture. Would this help us enhance and give that picture now in a broader perspective, because we can legally demand for information?
Well, yes, it can. I mean, it's another tool. The question is whether the media will be wanting to use it.
You think we may not use it?
I think as it stands, the record of the media in actually following up stories is much less to do with the information that's actually available, rather than their proclivities or their insistence on really reporting the politics of things as opposed to the issues of things. But that said, I think the bill is a good thing. I'd want to really see the text of it. I think that's where we need to concentrate on. What are the caveats that are given, you know, so that we know what is it, because some of these bills come as sort of, their disguises fed in within it. So it looks like the government is being open, but then you find there are certain caveats, there's certain information you can't get, etc. So I would really want us to scrutinize, I haven't seen it, but I really want us to be careful before we bang our drums and be happy, is we actually scrutinize the text of the bill and see. One of the things that I think is important for us and we should be pushing for is why the government, there's some information, for example, wealth declarations are still a secret. You know, but nobody in government is allowed to publish it. Would this change that? You know, I don't think so. You know, so there's things we still need to push for government to be more open. When things are classified, is there a time limit where they run out, and then we can access those things? So right now, do we know what government was doing in the 50s and 60s? You know, what documentation it had, etc. When we look at things like shift award, etc., we should be able to access these documents and stuff. You know, so these are some of the nuances that we need to be careful about, that we don't just go saying, yes, you can write a letter to the Ministry of Information or Ministry of Defense, and then they will give you info. You know, the fact is, governments are very incentivized to keep information secret. That's why they do it. You know, they don't want you to know what they're doing in your name.
So maybe it's not time to celebrate yet until you've read the text.
Look at the text. You know, let's really scrutinize that text.
You know. All right, Dr. Buka, what are some of the things you'd want to see in that bill, if once it's out, that would give us more power and ability to do our job and give a more accurate report, as it were?
I think most importantly is for us to be able to interact with it and see what it says, because I haven't seen it myself. But one of the things that I would wish is there is, you know, what happens when you do not get, when, you know, that information is not accessible to you, and what is it that then media houses can do, you know, to try and get that information all the same. Because as Gadara said, you know, it might look good on paper, but until you start interacting with it and reading it, then you realize that there are too many caveats that actually make it difficult for you to be able to access that information. But also, what kind of information are you allowed to, you know, to access? That's also, you know, something that I'm hoping we would be able to see. And, you know, what is it that is, you know, information that, that is, you know, for public consumption, and what isn't. I think those need to be clearly defined in that. But I think, you know, we would need to see it and interact with it much more to be able to comment.
And Michael, there is a clause that really gives power to those who have been either defamed or have information published about them which is untrue. And the Constitution spells out that they have a right to seek powers for deletion or correction of the right information to be put out. So by and large, it will also, you know, whip up media houses to ensure that questions of accuracy are really in the right place, and that all that we publish, we have a remedial measure that those who are injured or who are carried in a way that really does not reflect the true story that they are, have a right to seek correction and clarification on such matters.
Is that in the freedom of information?
Actually, yes.
I'd love to see how it's worded, because again, when you have too many layers of legislation dealing with the same thing, we've got the Media Act, the Media Council Act, which deals with this, you know, and we saw recently the government trying to introduce another more legislation, in essence, to take away powers from the Media Council and put it in invest it in another government agency. You know, so if it's again been addressed within this bill, we really need to be careful that the whole idea of self-regulation of the Media Council being the place that you go to its complaints commission, where you go to say that, you know, ABCD has been published, you know, that is retained as a place of first resort. You know, we of course have libel laws and stuff, which I don't have a problem with, you know, but when we include so many other gaps, and it works to cut down the media and its incentives for telling the truth, you know, it disincentivizes them by always having this sword of Damocles over their heads.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see the bill, and like you've said, we'll celebrate once we have read the fine print.